Hi, third graders. It's Miss Finnegan here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Lenape Native American and all of the natural resources that they use to survive. Let's take a look at all of these natural resources. First of all, let's review. What is a natural resource? Any material or substance, such as minerals, forests, water, and fertile land that can occur in nature and can be used. You may remember talking about natural resources when we talked about New Jersey. There were many natural resources in the different regions of New Jersey. The Lenape Native Americans used land for farming. The Lenape grew gardens in the village to harvest crops. They would grow mostly corn, beans, and squash. Many American Indians grew these three foods. These three crops were known as the Three Sisters. Here you can see an image painted where the three sisters are representing each crops. They called it the Three Sisters because the corn would provide structure for the beans to climb. The beans would provide the nitrogen to the soil so it could help them grow. And the squash would spread along the ground, preventing weeds. So just like the Lenape tribe, these crops would work together. The Lenape Native Americans used animals for food, clothing, and tools. The Lenape used animals for more than just food. They would hunt deer, rabbits, and beavers. Lenape Native Americans would eat the animal meat and use the fur and skin for clothing. They would also use the animal bones and skin to make tools such as nets for fishing. Native Americans tried not to waste any part of the animal. The Lenape used water sources to hunt and gather food. Here you can see in this image, the Lenape are in a canoe hunting with spears. Please watch this short clip about some Lenape tools.
Now to catch these fish, of course, like today, they could use fish hooks. They made them out of bone, out of shell. But to catch a lot more fish, you might want to make yourself a spear, something like this one here. It has a way of catching fish three different ways. It was very long, so it was easy to actually locate the fish in the water, and you could spear them, and that way they wouldn't wiggle off. To catch larger fish, harpoons. You would have a harpoon like this connected to a rope, and there were some pretty large fish. We have sturgeon, even in the Hudson and the Delaware River today. And back when the Lenape were here, there were some sturgeon that were bigger than 15 feet long. And so you might want to need something like this to catch a fish. At night, oftentimes they would go hunting, or fishing I should say, and you might want to take a torch. This is birch bark, and you could light it on fire, and this would attract the fish right to your canoe. So even during the night you can go fishing. Now, to catch a lot of fish, there was an easier way. You might be able to use fish weirs and fish nets. Let's take a look. Now, an easier way to catch fish, of course, is you could always build yourself a fish weir. As you can see out there, it's a fence-like structure. They would actually build out across the stream or out in the lake, and they would actually funnel the fish. You might take nets and push or scare the fish into that. There's an opening and into a basket that they have waiting there, and catch a lot of fish that way. Sometimes the whole village might help, and everybody help out in that sense. But that was a way for getting a lot of fish at one time. And once you got that large number of fish, later on you can see how they actually cut them apart and hung them on racks to dry. But those are called fish weirs. And out there, he's still fishing. He's using a harpoon out in the canoe. But very patient, but they were very, very good fishermen. Now another way of catching fish, of course, was using fish nets. That's what we have over here. Fish nets were used to catch fish, just like today. Back then, of course, they would use very kinds of plant fibers that they would twist together to make string and create these nets, some of them hundreds of feet long. And to float the net on top, you might actually put gourds or wooden floats. And to make the bottom of the net sink down, You had what they call net sinkers, simple rocks with two little notches that they would tie in, helps to weight the net down. And these they could take out and stretch across a lake or a river and of course circle large numbers of fish too. So they were very important to Lenape as well.
Wow, I love how they use so many different things to catch fish. Did you notice that he was holding a gourd, which was also called a squash? They grow the squash to eat. They used it, once it was dried out and hollow, as a buoy to help keep the net floating. And then they used simple rocks to keep the other part of the net grounded. The Lenape used forests for shelter. The Lenape would use wood and sticks from the forest to build a shelter. The two main types of houses were wigwams and longhouses. This is a wigwam, and this is a longhouse. The Lenape would also use mud and clay to make the structure stronger. They even would use trees to create canoes. Here is a very simple looking canoe made of a hollowed out tree. As you can see, there are many resources that the Lenapes used to survive. Crops, land, forests, animals, all together working to help the Lenape survive together as a community. I hope you enjoyed learning about the natural resources the Lenape Native Americans used. I can't wait to see your reactions. Bye, everyone.